Shabbat Shalom from Temple Concord. This week our Torah portion is a double portion, Matot and Maseh, and we learn a fascinating story and a fascinating lesson that we actually learned earlier in the Torah, but in slightly different circumstances. So in Matot and Maseh, the tribes are getting ready to figure out where they're going to encamp in the land of Israel. And a couple of tribes say, we'd rather be outside the land on the other side of the Jordan River, and they offer to be the front lines. But the real reason they want to be there is because it's better grazing land for their animals. In effect, they're putting their animals and things ahead of people. And it's the same lesson that we learned at the Tower of Babel, where they appreciated the bricks more than the actual workers who were building the building. In both cases, the question is, what comes first? What's more important, people or things? The interesting part is that in the second example, the case of the tribes, they're allowed to stay there. And so our tradition allows for the tribes that want to farm on the other side to put their farms first, ahead of the people. Now, why our tradition makes this change is an interesting question. But more than that is, how do we do that in our own lives? Do we always put people first, or do we put things first? And my guess is that each of us has our own gray area, where sometimes it's people and sometimes it's things. And for those closest to us, obviously we put our families first, but beyond that, how do we find that line of demarcation? How do we divide the two? It's a long challenge and an age-old challenge for us as humans. And I think what our Torah is saying is, if you can find a way to put humans in the lead. So they're saying, look, you can take the farmland as long as you'll also guard and protect the people, then it's okay. So the question is, how do we put a value of humans even when we want to put something ahead physically? It's a really difficult, complicated area, but it's one that we face all the time. And so I hope you'll join me in wrestling this question through. How do we value people? How do we value our things? And how, more than all of that, do we find a balance? A balance between our needs and our desires, between what we want and what we absolutely must have. And how do we value that which we must value? That is to say, how do we value the people in us as much in our lives as much as we possibly can? I hope you'll join us for Shabbat services Friday evening. We have a very special service this Friday night. We'll be out at Clark Reservation. It's a fried chicken dinner. What could be better? But more than that, we have three special guests. Jim Kerwitt, our own Jim Brule, and Mohammed Khater will be engaging in a tri-faith dialogue. It promises to be a wonderful evening of conversation between Jews and Muslims and Christians. Together we'll see how we can find balance and how we can put humanity above all of these things that can differentiate us if we're not careful. So services Friday night will be at Clark Reservation at 6. Make your reservations at the Temple office as soon as possible and plan to be with us that evening. Saturday morning, of course, services at 11, preceded by text Torah study at 10. And throughout the next week, it's a more mellow time. It's the middle of the summer, so we hope you're out enjoying the warm weather and the beauty that is Central New York, and wrestling through these questions of how do we put people first and still find balance in our lives. For now, I wish you a Shabbat of balance, of finding that middle ground. And I look forward to celebrating with you both at Clark Reservation on Friday night and at the Temple on Saturday morning. Look forward to seeing you this Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.